Hey guys, here we have the notes for lesson 9A. This assignment's for Monday and Tuesday, 427 to 428. Okay, so I don't think you have to print this off because I noticed in the packet I gave you before we left the assignments in there. It says notes. Looks like this. It says notes right here. 9A, not 9A. And then it's got the homework assignment after that. All right, you guys, I know some of you guys are struggling with this. Keep on doing the work. I'll say it again. You guys, in order for me to give you guys credit, I need to see the work, okay? So I don't want just the answers. Like for example, I'm gonna post these to Schoology. Here are the answers for last week's homework, 8-A. You guys, I don't want to see just this, okay, or just this. I need to either see the Xbox method or the grouping method or another method. If you Googled another method, there's tons of methods out there for doing this, okay? And then one more thing I wanted to show you guys before we get started here, okay? All right, I want you guys to look at this, all right? Okay, we have four different situations here, okay? These represent four different ways we can write a trinomial. The first one is a positive B term and a positive C, so plus, plus. If you have a trinomial like that, you know your factors are going to be x plus something and x plus something, plus and plus, because positive times a positive equals a positive, and when I add these together, I get a positive, okay? The second one, if you have a negative B term, negative B, and then a positive C, all right, you're gonna have negative and a negative. Because what's a negative times a negative? Negative times a negative is a positive number, and when I add a negative plus a negative, I still get a negative. So if you have a negative in the middle and a positive, okay, you're good to go. My teacher, when I was in school, showed me the trick. He said, if this last term is a positive, then the signs are going to be the same. And then you look in the middle to see what the signs are. So for example, I know the signs are the same and they're both negative for my factors. Okay, now look at this one. What if I have a negative middle term and a negative C term? Well, the only way to get a negative number here is to multiply a positive times a negative, opposite signs. So I know if the C term is negative, okay, that I'm gonna have opposite signs, and then that middle term right here will tell me what the bigger number is. So for example, if my factors were 9 and 4, I would know that the 9, okay, would be negative because when I add them together, I need to end up with a negative. And the same thing down here, if I have a negative C term and a positive, then the signs are going to be different. They're going to be opposite signs. All I know is that the bigger number of the factor, okay, the bigger number is going to be the positive. All right, so you can copy that down. That kind of is a shortcut, and I'll help you through today's homework to show you how that works. But that definitely is a great way for you guys to kind of speed things up. All right, let's do the first one. So I'm going to use the Xbox method just because that's what I'm used to. We can also do grouping. I'll do Xbox and grouping for this first one. Okay, step number one, always, I'm going to multiply A times C. So with today's homework, you guys will notice, or today's notes, A is going to be greater than 1. All of our other assignments, okay, if you looked, A was 1. A was 1. Even with number 2, okay, I know A was 3. However, when I factored out the GCF, A was 1 when we go to factor it, okay? So those are the easiest ones. It makes it a little bit more difficult when A is greater than 1. Now, I don't have a GCF, so I can't reduce or take out a factor. So I'm going to multiply 3 times negative 5. Which is going to give me negative 15. I make my X. Remember, at the top is A times C, and B goes at the bottom. Okay? So same thing that we've done before. Give me two numbers that multiply to negative 15 and add up to negative 2. So you may have to list all the factors, okay? Sorry. So the factors are going to be, can you figure it out? The factors are going to be a positive 3 and a negative 5, okay? Remember what I just said before we started the notes, okay? If this is a negative, I know my signs are going to be different, and the bigger number is going to be negative. Well, look at that. The signs are different, positive, negative, and the bigger number has the negative sign. All right, so now I'm going to go back over here, make my box. I got 3p squared, negative 5, 3p, negative 5p. All right, I just took these and plugged them in there. All right, now you just have to find the GCFs, okay? So looks like I have 3p. These two have a p. P times negative 5 is negative 5p, and negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. So here are my factors. 3p minus 5 and p minus 1. All right. Same concept as last time. The only difference is now we're going to multiply a times c, and a is a number bigger than 1. So it makes it a little bit more difficult. Let me do the same thing, but let's just group it. So if I were grouping this, 3p, 5p, remember, we just split up, okay, this into those. Okay, so if I add them up, I still get a negative 2, and this is where I'm going to group. So take a GCF out of these two. I'm going to get 3p, and I'm left with p plus 1. Remember, if I do this correctly, I should have that other set of parentheses be p plus 1. These two both have a negative 5, and I'm left with a p plus 1. Very good. So I've got 3p minus 5 and p plus 1. Okay, so listen, Xbox, or this is the grouping method. And again, guys, if you Google this, there's lots of different tricks and methods to do this as well. You just gotta find one that works with your brain. All right, let's do the number 2. Same idea. I'm gonna multiply a times c. So that's going to give me negative 18. All right, now before I do anything, I know my answer is going to look like that. It's going to be two factors. Remember what I said. All right, look at the signs. This is a negative. The only way to get a negative 9, if you guys remember FOIL, L means last times last. That's how I get that term. Okay. So the only way to get a negative is to have a positive and a negative. Okay, now I don't know what the terms are in here, but I know my signs are going to be opposite, okay? All right, and then down here goes B. All right, so two numbers that multiply to negative 18 and add up to 3. Well, after you list all of them, and remember, guys, this is a negative 18. So you're going to have 1 and negative 18, but you're also going to have negative 1 and 18. All right, those will give me two different sums. Well, after, and as you do this more and more, you'll get a little bit more efficient and faster with your factors. All right, so I'm thinking a positive 6 and a negative 3. All right, those two will multiply to negative 18 and they add to 3. Okay, so I'm going to use my box method here. All right, I'm going to get 2n squared, negative 9. All right, I'm going to get 6n, negative 3n. All right. Okay, these two have a 2n in common. This row has an n. N times negative 3 is negative 3n. And negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. So there you go. Look at here are my factors. N plus 3 and 2n minus 3. Fantastic. All right. And I'll do one more with the grouping because I know some of you guys prefer that method. We've got 2n squared plus 6n minus 3n and then minus 9. All right, so after I group those together, okay, these two have a 2n in common and n plus 3. Okay, and then these two have a negative 3 in common and n plus, that's a 3. So I've got 2n minus 3 and n plus 3. There you go. All right, either method will work. It doesn't matter, okay, guys? Either method will work. All right, number 3. Number 3, here we go. So again, multiply A times C. I get 12, make my X, okay? And B goes in the middle there, or I'm sorry, at the bottom there. All right, let's see here. Factors of 12 that add up to a negative 8. Okay, well, what about this? What about negative 6 and a negative 2? Negative times a negative is a positive. And if I add them up, I get negative 8. Looks like it works. All right, so here we go. We've got 3n squared. We've got 4, negative 6n, and negative 2n. You got to be careful with those signs, okay? All right, these two right here have a 3n and an n. This has got to be a negative 2 because n times negative 2 is negative 2n. And negative 2 times negative 2, negative times a negative, is a positive 4. Okay? All right, so there we go. My answer, my factors, 3n minus 2 and n minus 2. Now, you guys can always double check by foiling this back out or distributing it back out. Okay, watch, just watch. 3n times n is 3n squared. 3n times negative 2 is negative 6n. Negative 2 times n is negative 2n. And negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. These two are like terms. 3n squared minus 8n plus 4. Look at you guys, you got the same exact thing. Okay, so I took the trinomial, I factored it into two binomials, and then I multiplied the two binomials to go back and got the original trinomial, okay? So it's like, you know, tying your shoe and then untying it to get back to the same spot that you were at. All right, look at number 4. All right, the one problem with these ones is when A is bigger than 1, you start getting into some bigger numbers. And you guys know bigger numbers mean more factors. 5 times 12 is 60. Okay, I'm going to add up to 19. So without doing any work, I know I'm going to have a plus and a plus. How do I know that? Because 12 is positive, and the only way to get a positive number is to multiply negative times a negative or a positive times a positive, and they got to add up to a positive. So I know that both of my factors are going to be plus and plus. All right, so let's see here. 60. Remember that trick that I showed you guys with your calculators, okay? If you go to y equals and you type in 60 divided by x, okay, and you go to the table, okay, it's a great way for you guys to see all the factors there. So let's start listing them, because this one doesn't pop out to me. So 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15. Well, there we go. Okay, we're trying to get two numbers that add up to 19. There you go, 4 and 15. Okay, all right, go back over here. I'm gonna use the box. All right, so here we go. We've got 5n squared. We've got 12, 4n, and 15n, okay? All right, these two have an n, 5n. Remember, guys, to get this box, I'm gonna multiply its row times its column. So 5n times n is 5n squared. 5n times what is 15n? Well, that's gotta be a 3, and then 3 times 4 is 12. So there you go. I've got n plus 3 and 5n plus 4. There's my answer. Those are my two factors. Remember what I said before, you guys. This is just the first stage of what we're eventually going to do when we solve quadratic equations. Okay, and we'll get into that in the next couple lessons here. All right. So far, so good. All right. Again, look at my signs. All right. Before I do any work, I already know I'm going to have a plus and a plus. Okay, because that's a plus and that's a plus. So here we go. Multiply 2 times 5, which is 10. Okay, they got to add up to 11. What about 1 times 10? Okay. All right, let's make the box. All right, so 2v squared, 5, 1v, and 10v. All right, so here we go. V and 2v. 2v times 5 is 10v, and 5 times 1 is 5. So I've got 2v plus 1 and v plus 5. Okay, all right, got a few more here, guys. All right, this one I'll do grouping because we've done Xbox the last couple ones, but this one we'll do grouping for you guys. All right, so let's multiply once again. A times C, which is 8. I'm gonna add up to a -9. Okay, so here we go. Look at my factors, looking at the signs. Okay, this tells me the signs will be the same, and they're both going to be negative. Negative and a negative. All right, okay, so here we go. Two numbers that multiply to 8, and they gotta add up to a -9. Okay, and we know that they're both negative. So what about -1 and -8? Multiply them to get 8, add them to get -9. All right. So we're going to go 8x squared, okay, minus 8x minus x plus 1. Now, the reason why I put the 8x here instead of doing it in order is because I know that I can take out a GCF of 8x. Now I'm left with x minus 1. Okay. All right, so if I take out a negative, see, this doesn't have any factors, okay, here I can take out, but I can take out a -1. And the reason why I take a -1 out is because if I divide each term by -1, then I'm left with x minus 1, which is exactly the same as that one. So here we go. My two factors are 8x minus 1 and x minus 1. There we go. Just like we said, negative and a negative. Those are my two factors. All right, good job. Two more, guys. All right, any point in time, you guys can always stop these notes or pause them at least, do the problem, and then watch me go through it. It's a great way for you guys to see if you're on track here, okay? All right, let's go ahead and multiply these two together. -14, I gotta add up to a -13. So I know one's gonna be a negative and one's gonna be a positive. All right, okay, so what about -14 and a +1? Multiply them together to get that, add them together to get that. Okay, all right, I'll do grouping again. So 7x squared. Remember, instead of writing that middle term, I'm going to split it up into these two. Negative 14x plus x minus 2. All right, so if I take out and I group these together, all right, I'm going to get a 7x and x minus 2. Now again, these don't have a GCF, but I can take out a 1, all right, and I'm left with x minus 2. So my two factors are 7x plus 1 and x minus 2. All right, awesome. Again, if you want to check your answer, multiply it back through, you can use your calculator, like I showed you before, graphing them to make sure that they are the same. All right, guys, the last one. All right, we're going to multiply these two together. We get negative 6. I'm going to add up to a 5. All right, so once again, I know that my answers, my factors, okay, are going to have different signs. One's going to be a plus, one's going to be a minus. All right? All right, so two factors that multiply to negative 6 and add up. What about a positive 6 and a negative 1? That works. Okay, and we'll finish off here with a little box, X box. So I'm going to have 2x squared minus 3, 6x, and then minus 1x. Okay, all right, this column, I always start with this column, has a GCF of 2x. 2x times x is 2x squared. X times negative 1 is negative 1x, and negative 1 times 3. So there we go. That works perfect. X plus 3 and 2x minus 1. Now, doing what I just did, okay, in writing, before I even did any work, writing my factors as this and this. It's always nice to know, if I know that, and then I can just plug my factors in so I know that I got the signs right. All right, and again, always double check this. All right, guys, that's it for the notes. So your homework for Monday and Tuesday is this right here, okay? 9A, all right? And you're just gonna do 9 through 18, okay? So just this first page, okay? And you guys, I need to see the work, okay? I need to see the work. No work, remember, no work equals no credit. I know you guys are bored out of your mind, so I should see tons and tons of work. And keep on uploading those pictures to Schoology, and then I will start putting that in there in the grade book pretty soon, as soon as they tell me I can. Hope you guys have a great day, great week, and keep busy, guys. Thank you.